Rudy Husny is a former advisor in the Harper government and political analyst. We got a bunch to talk about right now. You want to start by talking about the Blue Book? I'm sorry, but I couldn't help but laugh when I heard Paul St-Pierre Plamondon talking about this and suggesting, by the way, don't worry, this is only version 1. There'll be another edition 2, and that's where we're going to deal with, Quebec's, indigenous community. I don't know. What's your take on those from what you've heard and what you've seen?
It's very interesting because, first of all, as you rightly pointed out, it's only the first version, but the first version is quite heavy, 524 pages in terms of everything you're asking yourself in terms of Quebec, independent Quebec. It starts with Quebec will have a president of the Republic of Quebec, and we even know where he or she will live. She will live, or he, at the Citadel of Quebec in Quebec City, where actually it's the second official residence of the Governor General of Canada. There's also the talk about a national defense, the creation of a Quebec military with 3 branches, Army, Navy, Air Force, that Quebec will seek the membership of NATO, but also NORAD with the United States. But also there will be negotiation with Canada in terms of the federal base in, for example, Bagotville and other military bases in Quebec. The most interesting part is actually the relationship with Canada. So if you read a little bit in it, it basically states that the model will resemble a little bit the European Union in terms of there will be no border between Quebec and Ontario or Quebec and New Brunswick or Quebec and Canada. There will be free movement of people and goods. That's actually interesting because maybe that's what Quebec wants, but you'll have to negotiate with Canada. So it's not like, oh, yes, it will happen. There was also a chapter about citizenship, which is also very interesting. You would be able to have the dual citizenship. It will be permitted. So keeping your Canadian passport, we all remember Jean Charest in 1995 during the referendum showing his Canadian passport and saying, I want to keep it. But it's been addressed in terms of the Blue Book because you would be able to keep and have dual citizenship. There's also something that it's missing out of the 22 chapters is the relationship with First Nation because according to the PQ and its leader, it's still under consultation with First Nation. So look, it's a very long exercise. I think that the goal, as they say, is to basically neutralize a lot of questions that can happen actually during the election, during the campaign. They want to kind of put it all up front and basically say, look, if there's some objection or things don't actually make any sense, don't worry, we can fix it. We're just starting the dialogue. And especially launching it today when we know that tomorrow everything will be about Quebec National Day is also, in a way, a strategy. So we talk a little bit about it, but not too much, and that we don't actually have time straight off the bat to actually find some holes in that 500 pages document.
Yeah, Rudy, I got to tell you, when I saw this and heard some of the clips this morning, I couldn't help but think back to 2014 when Pauline Marois, famously talked about what we're going to get. We're going to get all our Quebec army and making all kinds of promises about we still have a currency. And we know how that turned out, right? They lost terribly in the election. Now, that was different. They were in power going into it. I'm trying to understand the purpose of this. Why announce this now? And I get the part about it Saint Jean-Baptiste tomorrow, but what is this supposed to do? Because I thought Paul St-Pierre Plamondon got the message from Lucien Bouchard that, you know what, maybe you don't want to talk about this. We know what your position is, but most people in Quebec don't want separation or don't want a referendum. Why keep harping on this?
He's actually doubling down. He's basically saying, look, I'm going to show you that I've done my homework, that we have done our homework, that we have considered every possible scenarios. There's some scenarios that actually don't make any sense just off the bat, saying that, Quebec will save $15 billion because there won't be a federal and a provincial ministry. As you know, it's still going to be an issue. Services will have to be rendered to the population. But I think that they're basically taking the strategy of saying, look, I'm going to be upfront. I'm going to tell you everything about it. So at least you know about it. And basically not having this narrative of secrecy, because as you know, in the past, that's always been one of the strategy of the Quebec Liberals and also other Federalist Party, basically saying they're not telling us exactly what's going to happen if there's a referendum. We don't know what's going to happen on day 1 or day 2 after a referendum, basically taking a gamble and saying, look, we're putting it all on the table for you to see, and we'll see what happens. But yes, you can question its strategy. But at the same time, it's the first time they've tried that with kind of a lengthy document.
By the way, did he say we would be using a Quebec dollar or a Canadian dollar?
No, it will be a Canadian dollar, but after they'll change it to a Quebec dollar.
Of course. Okay.
Yes.
Maybe change your money before then. Might not be
but
a bad
they'll
idea.
be. They talk about a transition up to 2 years to establish a currency, to establish a central bank, and also to make sure that you basically have to negotiate with Canada. We don't know actually if there's a referendum, how much money is going to be owned to Canada. Remember what happened during Brexit? The United Kingdom had to pay the European Union, repay some of the debt. So that will be also a lot of negotiation if we arrive at that stage.
Okay. I'm just curious, too. Do you think we're expecting answers from the other political parties reacting to this?
No, actually, it was interesting. The Quebec Liberal Party didn't want to respond today. They say that it's a very long document, that they realized that the PQ took a lot of time to actually release that document. So they're, on their end, also going to take a bit of time to review that and have a reaction later.
Is it available on Audible? Can I just buy the audio version of the book or not?
Maybe ChatGPT can make you a summary.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll have to check. The other story today I want to get to, we just had this on our news, and I know you're aware of this now. So we've been told now it's official. There will not be an English debate coming up before the provincial election. The CAQ apparently in the PQ first wants to say no, despite the fact that, of course, Christine Frechette said she wants to strike a new tone with Anglos. What do you make of this?
I don't understand, honestly, because when you looked at the past, François Legault won during the 2018 election, knew that if he wanted to be premier, he needed to go and have an English debate. He chose not to do it in 2020. You know why? 2022, because the election was already in the bag. But if Christine Frechette wants to show a change, especially that she's trying to do her branding, she started to start a new narrative saying that she's different from François Legault, that she wants, as you rightly pointed out, saying that she wants to build bridges with everyone. Also wanted to turn the page, for example, on certain issues like education, like, for example, what happened on immigration. I don't understand why she doesn't accept that debate. I think that will just be a negative narrative on her. And at the end of the day, I can understand the PQ and even the PQ. I mean, Paul St-Pierre Plamondon went to Oxford. He's completely bilingual. He's a good debater. He already has experience because he has debated in the past. I thought that for Christine Frechette and for all the leaders, because when you look at the polls, where every single leader have an awareness problem, people still don't know exactly who are they as a person, what are their position. So I thought it would be in everyone's interest to actually show up to debates, because the truth is, in French, they already agreed to 3 different debates, one with Novo and Crave, a second one with TVA, and now a third one also with Radio-Canada in French. So why 3 debates in French and not accept at least 1 debate in English?
Well, I will mention, by the way, in terms of timing, when you look at the breakdown here, it turns out the Liberals, who you thought would be the first ones to simply say, of course, we're in.
Yes.
They were at the bottom. They weighed in last, I think, saying basically, well, if everyone else is in, we'll do it. I found that a bit odd as well.
Yes. On this 100%, I think they should have taken the lead and say yes straight off the bat, because that's an opportunity, especially for a newly leader who is trying to do the media rounds, who is trying to get his name out, that he would just for exactly like that, just to say I was the first one to say yes.
And chose not to do that for some reason. I guess that's a question we can ask next time we talk to him, but struck me as a bit odd as well. Just really quickly before we get out of here, Canada, we know July 1st, of course, is the day to sort of start the CUSMA negotiations, but it seems Canada and Mexico, if I got this right, are forming a bit of a unified front before this begins.
Yeah, because we're still waiting. I mean, Mexico was the first one to say, look, we want this deal to be extended. We're open to renegotiation. Canada also followed through with a letter basically saying the same thing. We want this deal to continue, but we're also open to negotiation. We're still waiting on the U.S. in terms of formally saying that they want to continue and having we don't even know what's the calendar, when it's going to happen, if there's going to be renegotiation. So that's also a very important deadline. But with everything with Donald Trump, we still don't know in terms of that administration. So that's a very important deadline coming along. And also, don't forget, July 1st is also a deadline for Alberta to present a pipeline project for the federal government. So we're still waiting on that one. While everybody will be celebrating Canada Day, we'll be waiting for Alberta to see what exactly is the project for a new pipeline.
What do you think, by the way, if I could just ask with respect to, we know Mark Carney, has gone out of his way. They had that MOU. Is this going to be tough for him to actually go ahead and say, yes, we're going forward? Is he going to get some pushback in his own party?
Yes, that's the difficult part. First of all, we'll see how serious is the proposal from Alberta and how reasonable and feasible it is, because don't forget, they still need to find some private investors. The only guarantee that the federal government and Mark Carney did was, if you present a project, we'll make everything in terms of speedy approval. But for the moment, the ball is in Alberta's court. But the moment Alberta presents something that is credible or feasible, after it's up normally to the federal government to speed it up. Don't forget they established a project in Calgary, especially for that, to speed big projects.
We shall see. Lots coming up July 1st. All right, Rudy, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Pride is like love. You feel it in your heart. iHeartRadio, Canada's #1 streaming app for radio and podcasts, including iHeart Pride Canada, your favorite hits, and must-have party bangers, plus personalized and curated playlists like Back in the Day Pride.
Come together, celebrate love.
Take Pride with you, anytime, anywhere. Just ask your smart speaker to play iHeart Pride Canada. Stream us on your phone or listen now at iHeartRadio.ca.